Hey, Mike. Can you take us through how this trade unfolded, and if there's like a strategy where you would prefer to get a player to be named later at this stage?
Sure. We talk to all the clubs on a constant basis as much as we can, and the Marlins had been a team that had expressed interest in Richard Bleier at times, even before the season started, and then in the earlier portion of summer camp. So before their most recent crisis began, they had interest in Richard, and with our position right now as a rebuilding team, we're listening to everything, and particularly with a veteran reliever like that, there's interest from other clubs at times, and we explore it, and he's somebody who has occupied a very prominent place, I think, in the recent history of this team. He's been a part of some good runs here, and he's been a leader in the bullpen, and he's pitched through injury at times, and he's just he's an Oriole, and so it's tough seeing him leave, but it's I think part of the process and the transition that this club's going through is we know things like this happen, and we did it last year, and it's happening this year, and it doesn't mean that he's not appreciated and welcome back at some point in time, but I think we got something. We're going to get something back that we like, that is meaningful for our future and what we're doing. And now, almost as importantly, it opens up a roster spot, both 40-man and on the active roster for some younger guys to get opportunity, and that's a big part of this too. So in terms of the player to be named later, this year, if you're going to acquire a player that's not on a club's active player pool, any trade would need to be structured that way. So, obviously I cannot reveal what we might expect to receive or what our options would be, but at some point in time, we'll consummate the rest of the trade.
Stan Charles.
Mike, as a follow-up to Rock, I was wondering if the Marlins were especially aggressive in their situation right now, and could that lead to a better return than Richard might have brought under normal circumstances?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. I think we like the return. I think that it was, they're not going to, nobody likes giving up their players. But as I said, we had been having some interest from the Marlins on Bleier even prior to the season beginning. We knew that they liked him, and I presume that the roster situation they're in right now, and perhaps even the fact that they're coming here to play, made this convenient timing to go ahead and do something.
John Mioli.
Mike, it's only a week into this season. I know it's a unique circumstance, but do you think this sends a message that the club isn't interested in competing this year?
No, not at all. I mean, look, we're off to a good start. We're 3-3, but we could have won an extra game there, and the guys are playing well. It's good energy. We've got good young players on the team that are perhaps having breakout years. We'll see, and we want to keep this rolling. But the modern business of the game now, you look at a lot of clubs that are. The team we're playing tonight, the Rays, very transactional. You gotta pick your times and cycle guys in and cycle guys out and keep the talent flow going. And yeah, we're still in a point in our cycle where we're going to prioritize stuffing the talent pipeline as much as possible in the minor leagues and getting that base. And then the goal is to persist. In that way, once we have that talent base filled in, but by no means does this mean that we don't hope this team this year continues to win. I think it's anything goes kind of year, and we're gonna go out and try to win every game every night.
Joe Trezza.
Mike, different topic here. What is going on with Hunter Harvey down at the alternate site, and has he received any imaging on his elbow, and is there a timetable for him to get back to the big league club?
Almost any time somebody checks in with an injury, we do the requisite imaging so that we have a diagnosis we know we're working with. And, I think the results that we got this time were good with him. And he is cleared to throw. He's going to be starting his throwing progression here in the next couple of days. And I think that, it's going to be a few weeks just with how long it takes to build back up and get your velocity and face hitters and do everything that we do when we're ramping somebody up from a no throw. But I think he's going to be back.
Rich Dubroff.
Mike, do you have any trepidations about the Marlins coming here and about baseball continuing through all this?
No, we're not worried about the Marlins coming here. Anyone who's here, is going to have gone through testing protocols that more than the general public does, way more than what the general public does. And, our intake and all the vetting that's extra vetting that's gone into settling out the Marlins situation. So by the time they get in here, we're going to have a total understanding of that. On top of that, we've got our own protocols here that, we're hopeful that if ever someone is in the building that is carrying the virus, that these protocols will prevent a spread if we all adhere to them. So, yeah, this week has been a scare, I think, for everyone. I hope that we just all learn from it. We're ramping up and evolving with our protocols, and this is something that I think the entire baseball world is going to get better at. But certainly the Marlins and the Cardinals news, it's a little scary. And I think that things are obviously, the schedule's on wheels right now, and but this is what it is, and we're working on it, and we're going to try to make it work.
Dan Connolly.
Hey, Mike, in the last couple of days, you've seen a lot of top prospects who haven't played in the majors before get the call up, maybe 4 or 5 throughout the league. Are you guys getting closer doing that with some of your top prospects that were close to the top of Mountcastle and Aiken and guys of that nature? And also, where does it sit on the 30-man roster, staying for a little bit longer? I know some discussion there. And does that affect any of this if it does reduce from 30 to 28 to 26, or it can stay at 30?
Yeah, the guys are down at Bowie and they're working on stuff, and they really are working on stuff. I mean, we have all of our technology there. We've got coaches that are using it, and for the hitters, they're working on swing stuff. There's swing decision feedback, and this is a kind of a unique opportunity to get some real development work done outside of the pressures of a game environment. Having fans, trying to win that night's AA game or whatever. If you're a pitcher, maybe you're throwing 3 or 4 changeups in a row, and you wouldn't do that in a game. Just all kinds of things that are possible in sort of an instructional league environment, and we're utilizing that time. And when any of those guys is ready, and when the opportunity lines up here, we'll make that decision when it comes. But there's no script or plan or date or anything like that for anybody. 30-man roster, my expectation and every indication that I've gotten is that the rosters will shrink to 28 on August 6th. I think the way that this season is going so far, and just the whole situation, I think that if you talk to any general manager or manager around the league right now, they would support keeping the rosters as large as possible for as long as possible. But it's not up to us. But I think we give that feedback to the league at every turn.
Steve Molesky.
Mike, could you address the timing of the Bleier trade? In other words, he looks so good. If you're deeper into the season, there might be more teams that desperately need a left-hander, and the value and the price goes up. How do you kind of weigh in your seat when to pull the trigger on a move?
It's tough. That's kind of the job, I guess. There can be good moments that pass, or we'll never know. And you got to like the return and set the mark where you think it belongs. And when that mark is hit, you usually make the move.
Mark Viviano.
Hey, Mike. You and others in your organization have spoken with some pride about how buttoned down your protocols have been in to this point successful. Is it frustrating when other teams are testing positive? Just kind of, if it's going well for you and you see it not for others, what is the reaction? Is it frustrating?
Yeah, I don't know that, we want to be careful about not pounding our chest about having this situation under control, because this is a tricky thing, and you see it here. I mean, it's contagious, it's asymptomatic sometimes, and we're all on our toes. But I think that we are proud that we have prioritized these measures above really the business of baseball. And, our coaches' jobs are much harder. Our players' jobs are much harder. Everyone's interests are taking a backseat to maintaining these protocols, and we're trying to do as well as we can and just put it at the forefront of everybody's mind, and hopefully, that'll be enough. But by no means do I feel like we've got this licked. So we're going to try to stay on top of our game.
Stan Charles.
Mike, a couple weeks ago, you made an offer to Yasiel Puig in light of the fact that Nick Markakis is most likely going to opt back in to play with the Braves when he's passes protocols. Would you still have interest in Yasiel Puig?
We look at all the free agents, especially in a situation like this. We monitor what's going on out there. That's really all I can say. But, we'll continue to do that.
Joe Trezza.
Mike, are there any immediate plans to add more prospects to the player pool?
Yeah, we're getting some things in motion. I am, it's a tricky thing to telegraph or try to put advanced information out on because of some of the hiccups that arise for travel plans or the intake process. And for some players, it might take them 2 days. Some players, it might take them 7 days. And so I for reasons that we're being a little bit careful about information generally related to COVID, having a little extra care around this subject as well. But obviously, we're going to try to get as many of our prospects as we can to that pool, for the guys that we really are prioritizing for player development reasons versus players that have a clearer shot to making the 2020 roster. We're trying to balance that as best as we can with the depth needs.
Quick follow if I can. Are you planning on maxing out the 60 or leaving some flexibility there with 1 or 2 spots?
I think at some point we'll get to 60. I think that right now keeping it at 58 or 59 makes me feel a little better, because if we sign a free agent or maybe there's a waiver claim or something like that, a sudden transaction, you're not having to send somebody home and making a decision like that. So I for now, I think we're going to leave a couple or 3 empty spots in there at least.
John Muley.
Mike, this is 2 trades now pretty early in the season. I know last week you said you weren't really sure how the market was going to play out, but do you see that there could be a lot of opportunities in the next month to unload some of the other more experienced players who you don't see as part of your future?
I have no idea what's going to happen with the trade market. This came together. The Velasquez trade with Houston kind of came out of nowhere. I just don't know what to expect this year. I don't think anyone does. We're just going to keep talking to everybody and remain, communicative and see what's out there. But this is, if ever there was a trade market that was impossible to predict, I think we've found it.
Dan Connolly.
Just a little clarification on the player to be named in both instances with Velasquez and Richard. I mean, is it a situation where you get a list of guys and then you'll decide on that later, or have you guys pretty much zeroed in on who it's going to be? But obviously you have to wait until everything kind of comes together.
Yeah, it can be both those things. And the way the rules are structured, it's technically. The players aren't ours yet. The player isn't ours yet. So until that happens, there are things that can can happen. But I think that especially this year with the way things are working, people are going to have a pretty good idea of who that player is eventually going to be.